Morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday, the 25th day of July 2025, 7/25/25. I hope it's Friday. Happy Friday. I hope it finds you safe and healthy. I hope it finds your families safe and healthy and the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health. I pray that those being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the field of health, trying to improve the lives of others or save them, along with first responders who risk their lives to save the lives of others. And those also that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of pornography, child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and the perverts that create the demands that cause these industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So today we have discussed post Summer League. And of course, at the beginning of the Summer League, I think I made it pretty clear that this is going to be an important and very competitive Summer League for a lot of the guys involved with the Knicks organization. And we talked about Kevin McCullough, Marjan Beauchamp, Anton Watson. We talked about Tyler Kolek, Ariel Houporti, Pacome Daddier, and of course we ended up getting Think Pate as well. So we talked about all of these guys, and we talked about James Nnaji. Now, with respect to James Nnaji, the New York Knicks hold his rights. They have rights to James Nnaji through a trade, and so they don't have to really do anything in terms of make a movement for him to get a roster spot right now because he's not ready. He needs more development. When I first looked at the videos from France, I think it's where he played in France or Barcelona, or with James Nnaji, the European videos, I noticed a guy that had excellent hustle. He had a motor, which is one of the first things I look for in a big man. Is the motor. It's not the only thing, but it's an important thing. You could be a lot of big guys don't move that well. Okay, Venus Sabonis not Venus Sabonis. Jonas Valanciunas is one of those type of guys. Big guy doesn't move that well. Big lumbering type of dude. Okay, but when you do get a guy that can has a motor, that can run, that can move, cover ground, like Mitchell Robinson or Derek Lively, you have a piece that could really help you go far when you put around him the right pieces. So Naji has excellent motor. He can move. And like I said, it's not the only thing, as he demonstrated in the Summer League. He has several things. Again, the 5 spot in the league is one of the hardest spots to learn. You got to be able to call out the defense. You got to understand what your offensive opponent is doing. You got to be able to call out where they're going and when. You got to be able to do that from the 5 spot because you're the back of the defense, especially a rim protector that Naji's projected to be. So it takes a while. And then there's the speed of the game. The game is moving very fast in the NBA, much faster than Europe or any place else on the planet. The NBA game is the fastest game in the world. And so because of how quickly players move, it's pretty tough for a young guy to catch up with that. It takes some time. The game got to slow down for him on the defensive side of the ball. James Nnaji is such a situation. What I noticed from Nnaji in the Summer League was that he was hardly getting good position offensively for the rebound, offensive rebounds or defensive rebounds. He was not getting good position, and he was getting bowled out of his position very easily by smaller players. That's a matter of experience, of understanding how to find a body and put the box out on him and cover a space like that. Once he gets, he's going to need, and this is why I'm glad the Knicks have Mark Bryant. Now, before we go there, with respect to his position, He's probably going to be on a G League contract. I mean, he was on a European contract on his European team. He got out of that contract because he wanted to stay in New York and try to make the Knicks. He's not ready. But if he gets on the Westchester Knicks, which I think that's what they're going to end up doing with him, and he gets to come and practice with Mark Bryant, and Mark Bryant is the specialist on the big men, and then he gets to observe Karl Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, Ariel Hooporti, in the NBA level defense and practice against them every day, which is Mike Brown practices every day, he will learn the nuances. And one of them is he's got to learn how to get his position. He's big enough, he's strong enough. You cannot teach 7 feet with a 7'7" wingspan. So he has that. And he moves very well, but he just has to know how to use the movement, how to box out, how to find a body and clear out a space for himself on the offensive glass and the defensive glass. That's what he's got to learn. It's not that easy in the league to do, but he's got the ability to do it. I mean, after all, he's only 20 years old, and he's going to be 21, but he's only 20 years old. So you got to give him time. He's too naturally gifted physically to give up on him. And the Knicks do have his rights, and they're going to retain his rights. He's unsigned, but they have his rights. Nobody else can sign him. I mean, by the way, they got a lot of guys' rights. Like, they still got Jokovitis' rights as well. And I've been, once in a while, I'm asked a lot about what happened to Roku. Well, there's no room for him. Same with Naji. We have, right now, on the Knicks, and that's why people keep asking the same questions. I don't know if you're not paying attention. You got a learning disability. I don't know what it is. But there are 12 spots that the Knicks have filled right now, okay? There are 12 guys under contract. They have 1 spot left, and they have a rookie spot left, okay? So they have the rookie spot, and the rookie is Diawara, and they got 1 roster spot, and many of us have been pushing for Landry Shamet, and many of you have been asking about what's going on with Shamet. Let me explain again. Landry Shamet, if he was on this team this year, would be the 3rd string shooting guard. He's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. Maybe they could use him in small lineups, which Tibbs did last year a little bit at the 3 spot. But he's a 3rd stringer. He's behind the starter, which is Mikal Bridges, and the 2nd stringer, which is Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson is your shooting guard coming off the bench. That would make Shamet a 3rd string guard. Now, would he get minutes? Yes. Would he get rotation minutes? Not necessarily. So you got a guy that is capable of being a solid backup at the 2 for many teams. That's a problem for him. So he may want to wait and see what he could get out there, what's available. And then teams are waiting to see where guys they're looking at. For example, there were several teams reportedly interested in Marcus Smart. So those teams that were interested in him probably were waiting to see where he signed before they made another move to sign somebody else. And it's not just Smart. There's several players where teams are just watching to see where they're going to sign before they make their moves. So Shamet is also waiting where he can make his move. Of course, the ultimate goal is to play and get paid, right? So right now, he's without a team. He's an unrestricted free agent. But I am positive he has suitors. But he's waiting for the best situation for him. That's really what it comes down to. So if he could be a 2nd string, if he can be a backup 2 on some team, which he's done in the past, he'd prefer that, even for the same money. But of course, then there comes into the championship mode situation. He wants to be on a winning team. You know, he could play, but at his age, he's going to be 28. What's the use in playing if you're only going to win 20 games? He don't want that. He'd rather be on the Knicks, even as a 3rd stringer. Then, can he get a mid-level exception somewhere? That's another thing he's got to look at. I'm looking at a minimum vet min right now, but can I get a 5.7 somewhere? That's what he's looking for. So don't be, everybody's all anxious and worried about stuff that there's real life out there. Pay your mortgage. Make sure you're paying your rent. You got your bills paid. There's people unemployed out here. So there's worse things to worry about. Don't worry about Landry Shamet. If he's here, he'll be back. But the Knicks are going to need a veteran to be there. Now, if it's not Shamit, in my view, it's DeLon Wright. I'd rather have DeLon Wright in that situation because DeLon Wright's a pure point guard that can play defense at 6'5". So and at 33 years old, he's at the end of his career. He can really, try to get that chip right here with the Knicks. So I like DeLon Wright. So that's what we're looking at. We're trying to wait and see. And DeLon Wright is probably waiting to see what the Knicks do with Landry Shamet. And Shamet is trying to wait to see what other teams do with their money and their space. That's where we at right now. Okay, with respect to that. So there is not enough room for Naji. They're going to have to waive somebody. And like I said, they're not waiving Jordan Clarkson, Pacome Dadier, Ariel Hukporti. They're not waiving any of those guys. Then you got Tyler Kolek, and I didn't even guarantee they're waiving him. He's on the bubble, right? They could trade him and open a roster spot, but then you still got Anton Watson, Marjan Beauchamp, Dink Pay. You got guys. You got McCullough. You got guys that could come in and take that spot. So there's no room for Naji right now. So he would be a Westchester Knick on a G League contract. Fine. He gets the development he needs with Mark Bryant, and he gets to practice with the regular team, and he gets to watch and learn from the guys that are at the 5 already, particularly Mitchell Robinson, because he's the longest tenured Knick, and he has went through all this already, and he knows what he's doing at the 5 spot. So he can learn from Mitch Rob. Believe it or not, Mitch Rob would now be a veteran at 27. So he is now in a position to teach young players what is expected. And then, of course, you got Deuce, who we already saw coaching up Ariel Hukporti last year. So this would be where Naji would be developing. It's going to take about 2 more years for him to learn these things. So he's got to learn how to seek out and stake out his ground on the flight of a ball. You can't be looking at the ball in terms of the flight of the ball before you stake out your ground. Okay, stake out your spot, and if the ball comes in your area, you can snatch it. If it doesn't, okay. But that's what you do. Stake out your spot. And then once you're learning the shooters in the NBA, and you learn, like Bill Russell, which is before even my time, but I did read and study a lot about him and saw a lot of film on him. He was expert at knowing where his guys, how they would miss a shot and where the ball would likely come. That's the thing. You don't know exactly where it's going to be off at, but you know your guys and you know where their shots are going to be off at from the angles they're shooting at, just from knowing your own teammates, right? So Bill Russell would stake out his position and know where most likely, like if Heinsohn was shooting or if Jones was shooting, Sam Jones, he would know most likely where that ball was going to come off the rim, which is what made him one of the greatest rebounders, him and Wilt Chamberlain, that ever existed in the NBA, okay? So that's the key. So you can't expect everybody to be Bill Russell, but Naji will have to learn how to stake out his claim, his piece of real estate under the glass and not allow anybody to push him out of that stake. That's one thing he got to learn. He's also got to learn how to keep the ball above his head. He has a bad habit of bringing the ball down and then trying to muscle his way up in some awkward fashion to get a layup. He's got to learn how to keep the ball up, because we know in the NBA, there's a lot of talented, slick, pesky guards that will snatch the ball out of his hand. We've seen that. You see it all the time in the NBA. So you got to learn how to keep the ball out with your elbows up and then go up strong. Again, power dribble up strong. These are basic, fundamental things, but when you're in the speed of the NBA, they're not so easy to do because a game is moving really fast, so a play is over in split seconds, right? Either for a make or a miss. It's over quick. And you got to move to the other side of the gym, either in offense or defense. So it takes time. And at 20 years old, he's got time. And we got the trainers. So he's not quite ready yet, but I'm going to get out myself. I'm thinking 2 seasons, 2 more seasons. When he come in here and he's 22 years old, I think we're going to have something. See? So I'm liking it. And This is going to come into play. I'm not going to bring it up now, but there's a huge trade that, and I don't want to be clickbait. I'm not trying to, y'all know I ain't into clickbait. But next summer, not this summer, not 2026, there's going to be a big opportunity. Y'all remember how a year before the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, I told y'all the Knicks need to reach out to Minnesota because there was something coming? And then here we are a year and a half later, it happened. And y'all remember how I said the Knicks need to talk about OG with RJ and IQ in Toronto, and less than a year later, it happened. I'm seeing something else. I'm going to bring it up later, probably early August. But there's something else that's going to come next year. I'm telling you, I see it. It's going to happen. Okay? The Knicks could be involved. I'm going to put it that way. I ain't going to let nobody, I ain't saying it now because people like to copy my mess and put it on their big platforms and then misrepresent my art. So I'm not doing it. But I'm going to bring it out later. For now, though, Naji stays with the Knicks. Nnaji gets developed with Bryant. Now, what I was hoping to see from Nnaji this year, I didn't see, and that's all good. But I am very confident if he continues to develop, which from what I have seen of this young man, 20 years old, 7 feet tall, with his 7'7" wingspan, he's willing to work hard. Every coach loves that. Mike Brown especially loves that. So you get a big man with talent, with natural gifts that you can't teach. Like I said, you can't teach 7'7" wingspan. And he got a motor. He got good footwork. He got the footwork of somebody that looked like he played soccer. Coming from where he come from is probably why. A lot of guys like that have footwork like that because they play soccer. And he got footwork good enough to hang out on the perimeter with players. He's good. He could do that. So once you give him 2 years to put it all together, we might have a monster on our hands, in Naji. So he's a sleeper monster in my view. So we need 2 seasons, though, of training. Good, solid training, lifting, eating right, keeping himself in shape, and then learning those nuances we talked about, staking out his real estate, not letting anybody else have it. And then on the defensive side of the ball, when he's got to guard somebody, he gets himself out of position to protect the rim. He's there to protect the rim, but you got to be in a position to protect the rim. He has not quite learned the nuances of getting in the defensive position to properly guard his man and protect the rim. Again, this is something he will learn. That's why we got Mark Bryant. See, I'm looking at the coaching staff. That's what I mentioned the other day when I said coming into view. You're talking about Pablo Prigioni with Foyes, whatever his name is, coming to the Knicks. Ricardo, put it that way. And they will be handling the offense. Brown will be handling the defense and overseeing the whole game because he is the head coach and he's responsible for everything. But he's going to oversee. You're going to have specialists like Mark Bryant for big men. You're going to have specialists like Maurice Cheeks for guards. You're going to have specialists like Rick Brunson for Jalen Brunson. So you're going to have coaching development guys like Dice Yoshimoto for the young dudes. And so you're going to have that, plus you got Deuce, you got Mitch Robb. All of these guys are now veterans. Deuce, Mitch Robb, you got Clarkson, McCall, OG, Jalen, Josh Hart. All of these cats can teach the youngins. And they will teach the youngins. So it's a tremendously perfect situation for the Knicks right now. You got a combination of veterans and youngins. You got vets that could teach the youngins. And you got specialists. Big man for Mark Bryant. Guards for Maurice Cheeks. Personal for Jalen Brunson and Rick Brunson, right? Development, Dice Yoshimoto. Defense, Mike Brown. Offense, Pablo Prigioni. You got specialists that will be handling versus with Tibbs, y'all know this is Tibbs' hive. But one of Tibbs' downfalls was he wanted to do everything. Okay, that's why when he took the job in Minnesota, they gave him president of basketball operations, general manager, and head coach. That's never successful. But he wanted to control everything. He's a control freak. I love that about him, but it was one of his downfalls. He wasn't allowing other people to help him in these areas. He wanted to control everything. Okay, general, do your thing. But, and he listened, for 5 years, it worked. But I think we're going to go to another level the way they're getting ready to do it now, breaking it down and specialize. So Mark Bryant working with James Nnaji for the next, hopefully, 2 seasons, that's going to be very good for us because Naji has the tools and the talent to be a monster. He just has to learn those nuances. He has to learn them and learn them cold. And now he got the specialists around him that's going to help him do that. So I'm expecting this season you probably won't see him. He's going to be Westchester Knicks. The next summer he comes back at 21. He will show development next summer at 21. Then, depending on how much development he shows, he could be on the team next year or on a two-way, which is possible. Because this year is make or break for Kevin McCullough, who's going to be 25. He ain't going to be in no G League contract next year. He got to show he could get on the roster. Same with Anton Watson. They got to show they can get on the roster, okay? Their time is almost up. Same with Tyler Kolek. He's on the roster, but listen, I say he's on the bubble now, but he will damn sure be on the bubble for next summer, for real. He can't even be doing no summer. He got to show he could do something. Like in his case, guard his shadow. And so all of these cats, this is make or break year for them. So there's going to be a spot open on a two-way deal for Naji next year at the very least, if not a roster spot. So they got to show what they got, right now. Guys like Ariel Hukporti, he bought himself time because he's already shown he could play in the league. He's going to be the backup 5 to Mitch Rob, or whichever, if Mitch Rob's starting or Mitch Rob, he'll be behind him. Regardless, he going to be on the team and he going to get minutes. Regardless, he made that. He earned that. Well, these other cats got to earn theirs too. Time is running out. Kohler going to be 25. Watson's already 25. Then you got, McCullough. McCullough is 24, going to be 25. Next year, they'll be 25 going on 26. Hey, listen, there's a time limit. There's a shelf life. These cats are about to hit it. So they got to show something this year, right here, right now. Got to show something. So we're going to see how this works out. But for Naji, he's only 20. The boy got time. He got 2 years. He'd still be only 22. And so I'm saying in 2 years, Naji could be a monster. So we want to definitely cultivate him. Give him the sunlight and the water and the nutrients he needs to grow into the full-grown tree he could be. You all enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy. Be safe. Shalom.